Welcome to update number 5 for RF87. The project is a building and exploring simulator where you control 3 crash survivors stranded on an alien world. The project is in an early stage right now, and I'm working through the game mechanics. This is intended as a sci-fi, realistic-ish genre game, so I'm trying to make sure that the mechanics in-game are at least plausible in real life. I have run into a couple of snags, which is why it's been so long since my last update, but I've gotten a lot accomplished, so let's jump into it. The big changes in this update are the addition of a quest mission system, including conversations with NPCs, the addition of night events, which was one of the key game mechanics from the original project. I've also cleaned up and improved the procedural terrain system, introduced a terrain resistance, and a fog of war. So let's start with the fog of war, since it's the first thing you see. Start our simulator. So this is an exploring simulator, and since you can scroll the map in any direction, obviously if you could see everything, it would kind of defeat the purpose of exploring. So we have this fog of war effect. The details a little here. And as you can see, as you send your guys around, they will uncover parts of the map, hence the exploring. Now you notice this is a tile-based system, so this is not the usual surface-based system that's more common. The reason I chose this is that for a number of the game mechanics, it's important that there's a functionality and it is sort of known internally to the game what has been spotted and what is not spotted. So for example, the simplest of these is the mouse pop-up effect. So let's actually show details again. So we can have a pop-up that shows specific details about anything you're hovering your mouse over. So it's important to know if this is spotted, because obviously if you're in this dark area and the mouse pops up and tells you something, then you know that kind of gives away the secret. So the idea here is that, for example, this is spotted, so it tells you some information about it. This is kind of at the edge, with the idea being that things at the edge are kind of half visible, so the player can say, aha, this is either something old, I know what this is, or maybe this is something new and I need to explore. So then as you explore further, and you see this is now spotted, the pop-up information comes up. The system required that I redo my auto-tiling, which was quite a lot of work. The good news is, though, that this new and improved auto-tiling system will work on live updates, which you see here. So obviously it's redoing the tile system as you go. And I hope to be able to use that for other areas of the game too. So maybe something like road building and so forth. So the next feature is the mission quest and NPC conversation system. This is not an RPG that's going to have a ton of quests, but I did need a way to get player input, since player decisions, the sort of strategic decisions are going to be pretty important. This here is just a really simple example of getting input. In this case, it's just you want to get information on how the control systems and so forth work. So again, you can pick yes or no. If you pick yes, it obviously then gives you a whole bunch of hints and information about how the controls of the game work, and you can click through them. So, the same system will also be used to handle conversations with NPCs. So, let's jump to a place where we actually have a conversation. So, here's an example of an NPC conversation. In a moment now, we will have... So, information pops up. Lou, we'd like to talk to you. That's part of the basic information system. And an NPC wanders into your camp with an exclamation point over his head, letting you know that he's got something on his mind. So click on him, it centers on him. The dialogue here is just a test dialogue that I have just to see if the system works, but again, you have the ability to interact with him. He'll say something and you have potential choices. And then at a certain point, the dialogue can branch out and you would have choices. In this case, as a very simple thing, he asks to join your colony, and depending on what you say, if you say yes, then the conversation ends, and this guy becomes one of your guys, so you can click on him and control him just like anyone else. Obviously, in the real game, this is one of the outcomes, but it's going to be a lot more complicated, and you're going to have to do a lot more to get somebody to join. But again, just to kind of highlight the capabilities of the system. I would intend to use this system for other things, so other types of interactions. Maybe a NPC comes in and wants to give you information, maybe some trade information, maybe you could handle some simple trades, and maybe things like interactions with other quests and missions. So a NPC could come in and tell you about a mission, something like that. Now, the last addition is a pretty significant mechanic, so I'm just going to give a quick intro now and then show the details in a follow-up video. The night events is a switch basically from the entire mechanic. It's a switch from an RTS type mechanic to giving you the chance to be a little more strategic and make some additional decisions. As night falls, there are going to be consequences, so right now I don't have any crazy alien creatures roaming the landscape, so the initial consequences right now are pretty limited. But one of the things is, it's not just about consequences, it's also going to give you more options. So if we hang on just a second here, at a certain point, and again there will be some player input onto when exactly this point is, but at a certain point a menu pops up and will give you messages, and depending on how advanced the colony is, I think I have it set for 9, yeah, there we go, 9 o'clock. So basically you've switched to night mode and it changes kind of the overall game mechanic. It'll give you messages about your camp, it'll give you messages about how well you've done that day, maybe certain things you need to address, and depending on how far you've advanced, there may be a lot of other choices of things you can do kind of on a more strategic level. I'll cover that in the next video though, so for now, thanks so much for watching and have a great day.